Hello and congratulations on getting access to this video course, and I'm going to walk you through how to create a profitable authority blog. So this is video number 1, which is the introduction and getting started. Now, before we jump right in, I want to jump in and talk about mindset because I want to make sure that you're in the right mindset before we get started. Because I'm a big believer that if you're in the right mindset, you'll be able to implement everything at a faster and more accurate pace. So what I found over the years is that too many blog owners fail because they focus on the misconception or the belief that if you have the right tools or you have the software tools or the WordPress platform or the right blogging platform, then you'll succeed. But the reality is that really, it's not about the blogging platform. It's not about the software tools or any of that. What really it's about is figuring out what your strategy is if your niche that you're going to go into is going to be profitable or not. That's really what it's all about. So the secret is to start with a niche that you are truly an authority in. So this video course is all about that, how to find your niche, but how to make sure that you're in fact the authority. And we're going to put things through a test, and you'll see several tests in the beginning to make sure that is true. Plus, in addition to that, you want to make sure, of course, that it is profitable, that you have enough products to sell, and that you can increase your revenue stream. So what I want to do now is give you a quick overview of what's inside this video course. So you know exactly what to expect, and then of course you'll be able to see all the pieces of the puzzle, and then you'll be able to implement them at a faster rate. So this of course is video number 1. Video number 2 is find a profitable niche. So we're going to do some brainstorming. And video number 3, we're going to do the longevity test to make sure that that niche can last a long time, for decades, literally. And video number 4, we're going to talk about the authority test to make sure that you are indeed the authority. How do you know? We'll ask some questions that you can answer. We'll put you through some tests to make sure that is the case. And of course, number 5 is going to be the competition test to make sure that you have enough competition. And video number 6, we're going to talk about the product test to make sure that everything is going to be profitable for you in the long run. Because the worst case scenario is you jump into a niche that has a high demand, but it's not necessarily profitable. And of course, video number 7, we're going to talk about topic generation. So we're going to take the niche that you decided upon, and I'm going to show you how to use free tools to gather intelligence to figure out what actual topics are in demand. Because it's easy to create topics out of our head, and that's great. And some of those might be high in demand, but we can verify these with actual tools online. And video number 8, we're going to talk about blog post creation. Video number 9, we're then going to talk about blogging platforms. So if you notice, a lot of videos 1 through 8 is all about strategy, planning, getting it right. And once you do that, then you can move on to setting up your blog. Then you can think about the software tools and all of that. All right. So with that said, let's move on to video number 2. Welcome back. This is video number 2, and we're going to talk about how you can find a profitable niche that you are an authority around. And as we're thinking about that, I want to ask you a question, which is, what are you interested in? What are you passionate in? And I want you to keep that question in your mind. And the reason being is because I want to address an issue. And the issue is that many people tend to choose niches based on profitability. And that's the wrong way. Here's what you should look for. You should look for something that you're interested in, because if you look at the profitability or the money first, you will fail eventually, because you will eventually run into a roadblock and you will get overwhelmed, it'll be boring, and you'll have no interest in it to continue. And another thing is you won't look like you really know what you're talking about. So start with your passion. And the great thing about that is that people will trust you. They will begin to see that you're passionate about it. Have you ever been to maybe a blog or a webinar or something of other, and you have noticed that the speaker is not passionate whatsoever? They just feel like they're there because they're there. Does that really make you want to trust them? If they are not really passionate, that you can tell that they don't really know what they're talking about, but they're just trying to get by. That probably turns you off, right? Well, same goes here. You don't want to portray that in any way. What I'm trying to get here is that you want to portray yourself as the expert. And to do that, you need to be passionate about the niche. So over time, like I said, things will get boring and you will lose sight. And once you've lost sight, that is the beginning of failure. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set you up for success. Now, here's an example here. A while ago, I considered a niche called scrapbooking. I had zero interest in it, but I did this because I was trying to follow the money. What happened was it flopped. It died. So what I realized over the last decade was what gets you over the roadblock is being passionate about the niche. So here's my recommendation to you, and I want you to take this exercise and just go ahead. Step one, just pull out a pen and paper, pause the video if you want to, and just sit down and just begin to jot down all of your hobbies, things that you've invested money into, things that you've been passionate about. Maybe it's something that your family's passionate about. Think about all the pains that you've been through or your loved ones have been through, and jot those down as well. Because let's be honest, if it's a pain, you've probably done enough research about it to know the advantages and disadvantages of certain solutions and all of that. So let's say, for example, you have had a kidney stone. If that's the case, then you passed it without needing surgery, then somebody else out there is probably going to want to learn from you, right? So you have some sort of experience in it. You felt the pain, you felt the suffering, you've been through and done that. So you can relate to the people that are going through it. So basically think of things that you're passionate about. And if you want to pause this video and just go ahead and do that, that's fine. After you've done that, step number 2 is now, out of these that you have written down, I want you to pick and choose the ones that you're extremely passionate about. Now, hold on to this because in the next video, we're actually going to discuss how to ensure that you can make sure that you can do this for the long term and that this passes the longevity test, which is the next video. Hello and welcome to video number 3, and we're going to talk about the longevity test. So here's a quick and easy short test that you can utilize to figure out if you're really passionate about the niche in the long term. Because you might be okay right now, but we really want to know if it's going to last for a decade or more. So in the previous video, you created many different topics and then you chose one. Now, the fact that you're passionate about this topic means that you're more likely to succeed in the long term, but we want to make sure that is the case. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a timer, whether it's your phone, whether it's your watch. From this topic, what I want you to do is try to jot down at least 10 to 15 different but very specific topics around this one topic. So in other words, let's do half an hour. And let's see how fast you can create specific topics around this niche. So say, for example, let's take the example of kidney stones. We can think about with kidney stones, there can be dieting. For example, certain foods create kidney stones, and certain things, certain supplements can actually help pass the stone without surgery. Now, can you create 10 or more topics? So I created 2 out of those. Or let's say, for example, lowering cholesterol. We have dieting, we have exercise, we have cardiovascular exercise, we have aerobic exercise, we have other different options as well. So what we're trying to do is figure out how many topics you can create. So go ahead Do that now, pause the video. If you got 10, great. If you got 15, super. If you got 20, awesome. But if you got at least 10 within less than half an hour, then that's a good sign. That means that in your brain, you're able to produce topics right away and that you're actually passionate about this niche. Now, are you stuck? Let's say you tried it and you weren't able to think of anything. If you're stuck, then that kind of means that you need to move on to the next one. So look back on the list of pains and hobbies, pick another one, and go through the cycle again until you find one that works. Now, here's the final test. Let's say you found something that you were able to write 10 for. Is this something that you would feel comfortable writing day in and day out? Is this something that you're willing to get educated about and increase your knowledge about, read books about from other experts, talk to other people about, surround yourself with people who enjoy this topic, and would you be happy with all of that? If you said yes to all of these questions, then this might be a good topic of choice. So that brings us to the authority test next. Hello and welcome back to video number 4. This is the authority test. When it comes to being authority, you always want to be one step or one level ahead of your audience. What do I mean by that? I mean, if your audience are newbies, you want to make sure that you are at least in the intermediate level. Or if your audience are intermediates, then you need to make sure that you are an expert in that niche. And the reason being is because you need to be several steps ahead to ensure that you answer their questions. In other words, you need to make sure that you can gain their trust by providing value, and that way they understand that you have been through what they are going through right now. Because if you're going through what they're going through right now, they might see you as the same level as them. They don't really see you as the authority. They see you as maybe somebody who's a friend or somebody who understands what they're going through, but not yet has encountered the future. See what I mean by that? You have encountered the future, and therefore you can give them advice and tips to help them. So people want to know essentially if you are ahead of them, because basically the reality is if you do not know what you're talking about, people can see right through you. They won't trust you, and in the end, they will not buy from you. Because at the end of the day, people buy from people that they like and trust. So trust is a bigger, major factor here. So that's really what this whole formula is all about, is how can we get people to trust you? And ethically and rightfully so, if you know the niche, you know the advice and the tips, and you've lived it, then you're more likely to be able to connect. And by connecting, you understand their struggles. You see where if you find something that's just profitable and you're relying purely on somebody to write the content for you, so you're missing that emotional connection. So at the end of the day, if you think about it, people buy for emotion. They don't buy for logic. They justify their purchases with logic. All right. So with that said, if you're one step ahead of everybody else, great. If you're not, it might be something to think about. With that said, let's move on to video number 5.